The Eco models do not have the Ultra heat compressor. And in my presentation earlier, I also mentioned the Multi-zone Eco that will be releasing hopefully in November.
You can draw a portrait, whoever you want, choose anybody, and you can send it over to greecomfortac@gmail.com. We'll go ahead and give you guys a free service tool. It can be the single zone means the service tool, or the Gree GMV service tool, the one of your liking, of your choosing, and we can reach out to you.
Welcome to Talking Comfort Live, a show that reminds us just how cool HVAC can be by discussing today's hot topics in home comfort, from learning to laughing and sharing personal experiences to challenging the leading industry narratives. Our show goes deep inside the world of mini splits, heat pumps, and the inverter technology that brings efficient comfort to our products. And you can help us in our quest to make HVAC cool. We're looking for you to be a part of the show. If you have a question, whether it centers around application, installation, preventative maintenance, a future technology, or anything we share on the show, send it our way. We might take it live. Now grab a bucket and take a break. It's time for Talking Comfort Live.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm James McIntyre, the Senior Director of Commercial Sales. Let's go down the line and have everyone introduce themselves. We'll start with Justin.
Hello, I'm Justin Salisbury, Senior Director of Product.
Greg.
Hello, I'm Greg Bruntz. I am the Technical Support Specialist for the commercial team for VRF and our commercial product.
And Jesus.
Hello, everyone. Jesus Fraga, Commercial Inside Sales for VRF Products.
And JD.
Hi, I'm JD McCarty, Residential Tech Support and Lead Residential Trainer.
All right. So first off, on this episode, we'd like to hear from you. We'd like to talk about that. You guys, your questions, your comments only cause this show to be better. If you are on a job right now and have a question, maybe you're stuck on something, call us on our tech support line at 888-850-7928. Again, it's 888-850-7928. But if you're not, submit questions anytime using the question mark icon to the right of your screen. Again, help us out with questions and comments. We do have a packed show for today. We're going to start off with an E6 error code troubleshooting video with JD. We are going to stay heated on charging units using subcooling. That'll be fun. After that, we'll open up our Q&A and we'll cover anything you would love we would cover anything that you would like to cover, but we would love to get your error code questions, comments, and tips. And then we've got Justin with a product update. And as always, we'll answer a few of your comments that have been left on our YouTube videos. If you're watching this as a recorded segment, we'll have links in the descriptions that you can jump straight to those segments if you need to go back and reference those. One last time, question mark icon to the right of the screen for your questions and comments. So let's start talking comfort. We're going to kick it off with JD.
Hi, JD with GREE. Today we're going to be troubleshooting an E6 code. We're going to be using the GREE single zone testing tool. The part number is GREG-T2A3AD. So we have an E6. What we're going to do is use this tool and we're going to hook up to the outdoor unit and simulate the indoor and bring on the outdoor to see if the issue is in the outdoor. Or if it's not, then we're going to hook it up to the indoor unit and simulate the outdoor and bring on the indoor to see where the issue is. So let's go ahead and wire this in. So the power is off. We have 3 wires here. They are labeled for you 1, 2, and 3, just like your connections are labeled 1, 2, and 3. Hooking up 1 to 1, 2 to 2. And when we do this, we're going to disconnect number 2 that goes to the indoor head because we're using this tool to simulate the indoor head. So that's why we're disconnecting number 2 coming from the indoor head. Disconnecting number 2 from the service tool. And we're powering the indoor head still. Now we have the indoor head disconnected. We're going to bring on the outdoor unit. We're going to power it up. 4 different options on the test tool: data monitor, replace indoor unit to detect outdoor unit, and that's what we're going to use right now. So you hit next. Replacing the indoor head. It has an E6. If you look up here, we have an E6. So we're replacing the indoor unit to detect outdoor unit. So you press OK. Press OK once more. It's making sure that we disconnected the communication to the indoor. So the condenser fan just came on. We are in cool mode. What we're doing is waiting for that compressor to come on. Once the outdoor unit fully comes on, we know the issue is not in the outdoor unit. Then we can disconnect this tool and connect to the indoor head and act as the outdoor unit and bring on the indoor head. All right, looks like the compressor just came on. We have compressor frequency. So now we're going to go ahead and disconnect power. Now we're going to disconnect the testing tool from the outside. Reconnect the number 2 that we disconnected earlier. We verified that the outdoor unit does not have any issues causing the E6, so we're going to hook up to the indoor head. We're going to simulate the outdoor unit and bring on the indoor head. So what we're going to do first is lift this cover up. You know you'd have to take this cover off right here. Already took that cover off. Power is off. What we're going to do is disconnect number 2 from the outdoor unit here. Then we're going to hook up all 3 connections to the indoor. Again, they're labeled 1, 2, and 3, just like the outdoor. So you hook up 1 to 1, 2 to 2, and 3 to 3. All right, so now that we have that connected, we're going to turn on power to the unit. So we're going to go to option number 3, which is replace outdoor unit to detect indoor unit. We press OK. And press OK again. It's making sure that we disconnected the communication to the indoor unit, which we did. Detecting right now, so it says please wait. We're trying to do is see if that indoor unit will come on with this testing tool. And it looks like it did. We're in cool mode. The fan just came on. We're on medium speed and it's reading all the sensors. We do not have an issue with the indoor unit. So now that you guys know how to use the service tool to solve an E6 problem, with Gree, we're by your side.
Outstanding video by JD. Greg, I tell you what, why don't you tell everybody how we get to the part numbers for those service tools on the website?
Awesome. Yes. So if you go to greecomfort.com, and you'll see on the slide that's showing right now, it says greecomfort.com/Gree service tools, but you're not going to know all that. So if you just go to greecomfort.com, go into the contractor tab, if you scroll down, you'll see Gree service tools. You click on that, it'll take you right to it. And it's going to bring up this page right here. And then if you scroll down, it will give you the different part numbers for the service tools that we have. The one that JD did in the video is that single zone Greg T2A3AD. Keep in mind, and I believe JD said it in the video, you can use that service tool on multi-zone, but you're only going to see the indoor information to the indoor unit you're connected to, whatever circuit you're connected to. The multi-zone service tool, the MZ230V TSTER, that one there, that allows you got to plug into the main board on the outdoor unit, and then you can actually toggle through and see all the indoor unit information. But that tool that is not capable of simulating an indoor or simulating an outdoor unit. It's one of the reasons why I highly recommend the single zone service tool for E6 air code troubleshooting, because whether it's a multi-zone or a single zone, you can use that tool to simulate an indoor or simulate an outdoor to help you figure out what's going on with that unit. And then also we have the multi-pro full system commissioning and control service tool, which is that CE42-24FC. Gives you a lot of good data there to help you determine what's going on with the GMV unit. FLEXX R32 service tool is in the works and still coming soon. So
Well, that's really good information, Greg. Yeah, on the CE4224 for MultiPro, we've used that the simulate indoor and outdoor for quite a while now, and yeah, it definitely comes in handy. Even just for bench testing and stuff like that, like we've done.
It's
Uh,
funny that you said that, James, because I consistently forget about that feature, but I know it does.
yeah. Yeah, no, we've used it ourselves to find out like on the like dip switch settings for the units and, watching the fan speed up and slow down, different profiles for it. You don't have to necessarily have a fully operating system to show, an indoor unit operating. So it's come in handy pretty often. But all these tools, what I can speak to is all these tools are relatively inexpensive as compared to the service tools that are available from other manufacturers. We don't require a training class in order to get these, which I feel like this should end up being a separate clip that we can put on the other social medias, but we don't require a separate training class to have access to these tools. And as I said, they can be significantly less expensive than some of those service tools that you see offered by others. But is there anything that you guys would like to add that maybe the video didn't get too deep into?
Yeah, Greg, I want to
Um,
know how do you get to name the service tool after you? I see there's a Greg out there in front. How'd you do that? Who do I need to talk to? Maybe I
I
can
had
name
nothing to do with that. So I don't know how it got like that, but whatever. It is
I
what
got
it
you.
is.
Okay, so we need a JD 4224 and a Jesus, 230-volt tester. Okay. Justin, would you like to put your name on any of these tools?
No,
We
but
can get
seriously, on the
Justin could be
single
the
zone. Go
Justin could
ahead.
be the MZ 230.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was a little Easter egg from the product team there.
Yeah. Call it Greg T2A3AD. Got it. So if you're testing something on a piece of equipment, you're troubleshooting, remember Greg. All right.
There you go.
All right.
Well,
No,
JD's the one that did the video, and I got to give him credit. I think he did a great video of showing exactly how to go about using that tool. And I
thank
can
you,
tell
thank
you
you.
right now, that tool can save you a lot of time and headache trying to figure out what's actually going on there. I mean, JD mentioned in that video that if it like you go to simulate the indoor unit to be able to recognize the outdoor unit, let's say it don't run, maybe that outdoor unit is the problem. Well, then, where do I go from there? Okay. Well, I would go to greecomfort.com, go under the contractor tab and pull up the air code troubleshooting tool, type in E6. So you've already determined the problems in the outdoor unit. Then if you follow what we have in that troubleshooting tool, you'll be able to go through the next steps is what to do to figure out what's going on with that outdoor unit. So
right. Right. Which is disconnect your 5-wire fan motor and your EEV and then
if you
turn power
scroll
back.
down, it's under contractor support. So if you go under contractor tab again, you go under Gree contractor support. And then to the right, you'll see the air code troubleshooting tool right there. Click on that, and then you can just type in E6, and then it will pull up the rest of the, like I said, we're giving you a lot of voltage checks and stuff to do in the first part, without having the service tool. If you don't have that tool, you can follow this from start to finish to help you figure out an E6. But if you do have the service tool, now we're going to get into what exactly is going on with that unit, and it'll help you diagnose and troubleshoot the outdoor unit to figure out. A lot of people will say, "Oh, that means I need a main board on the outdoor unit," and it doesn't necessarily mean that. It could be something else. Am I wrong, JD? You want to kind of elaborate on that? What else could it be causing that?
Well, like just in our video, we did the example. Of course, the indoor came on and ran, and so did the outdoor. So that would narrow it down to we have to have a wire issue or wiring issue. It could be a pump or the wire. So that kind of
But I
narrowed
mean,
it down there. But
what I'm saying is, if that outdoor unit don't run, you simulated an indoor. The outdoor unit did not run, so we know the problems in the outdoor unit. A lot of people want to immediately go to, okay, I need a board.
right.
Can you elaborate on it? It may not be the board.
Yeah. So, I mean, kind of like James was saying just a minute ago, you know, it could either be typically one of the DC components that would drag down your communication, which would be your condenser fan motor, your EEVs, or your compressors. So then you can ohm, you know, each one of those components out, or you could use, you know, you can unplug one at a time, turn it on and see if your E6 code goes away. If your ohms check out, sometimes it could be something internal in one of those motors or compressor or EEV. Sometimes it could be just some rust or corrosion on the EEV that's, you know, dragging down your communication. So it will narrow it down for you. You know, I've seen where it's been a sensor. So, you know, you plug up that testing tool and it's going to read all your sensors to you. So that would be a clear sign that, you know, we have an issue there if one of the sensors isn't reading. So
James, I know you're chomping at the bit there to elaborate on the fact about the DC bus and how you can eliminate what might be causing it just by watching the DC bus, because the service tool does tell you what the DC bus voltage is.
Yeah. So a lot of the things that we talk about in our videos is how to check the DC bus and how to check the fan motor, how to check the, you know, just a bunch of different components, including like the sensor values, that kind of thing. You know, we can ohm it out, we can use a chart, we can do all those things. All of that information is built into the service tool itself. So if you connect and you're able to read that data, like if you're able to, you know, talk at all, right? If you're able to read that data, you can eliminate a lot of stuff really quickly, you know, without having to pull out micro leads on your meter, you know, change it to ohms, look up the chart, find the ohms, you know, see what your temperature is, go get ice water, you know, all that stuff. This gives you all the information really quickly. And to your point on the DC bus bar voltage, even if you don't have an E6, you got an H5 or, you know, the related error code where you would be checking your plus and minus or your positive and negative on the board. This tells you what the DC bus voltage is. And if you have low voltage DC, kill power, wait for it to discharge, you know, disconnect your fan motor, turn power back on, see if the DC bus bar voltage goes up. I mean, this can help to skip a lot of the steps. I mean, one thing I can say on the E6 error code, probably going to be the most detailed error code we have. And it's far and away better than the flow charts that we would typically find in the manual, just because we don't have, you know, an unlimited amount of space to be able to go through all eventualities for troubleshooting that error code. I mean, we've got videos related to this. You know, E6 is fairly common, as JD was attesting to. I tell you what, JD, how many calls do you get where we switched out the board and we still have an E6?
I'd say over half of them.
Yeah. So,
At least probably more than that. Probably 75% of them, you know, they replace the board and then, hey, we still have an E6, you know, and then
right.
Then we go back to checking them. Sometimes it's the basics like the wire or pump if it's new install, but otherwise, you know, we start looking into components and all that. But yeah, if you had that testing tool, they probably wouldn't even be calling in.
Right. Well, I mean, it's like going to the doctor and saying, you know, you got high blood pressure, and they're like, you know what, you need a new brain. That's what you need. You need a whole new brain, a heart. You know, you need to just switch out the main components of it every time. And no, of course not. If you got, you know, like some kind of medical issue or something, that you're going to be tested for something, hopefully, right? They're not saying, hey, let's just swap parts. Changing out a board is, yeah, you're changing out that central component. Yes, of course, none of it operates without that board, but most of the time it's got nothing to do with the board itself, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, James, I got to give you credit. That's the best analogy I've ever heard.
Yeah, we just swap out the brain. Just
That was pretty
swap out
good.
the brain.
The one piece of advice I would have for everybody out there getting one of these service tools is the service tool is also a data monitor. So how else better to learn your tool? Hook it up to a functional unit, learn how to read the data, see how it's giving you the data, and then without damaging the equipment, you know, throw some error codes into it so you can see what the tool is doing to you, and it'll help you get more familiar with the tool so that when you do come up to that broken unit, you know what that tool is capable of doing.
Right. I mean, even during preventive maintenance, for example,
Right.
I still think that, you know, mini splits in general don't get the preventive maintenance contracts and stuff that, you know, maybe we could, right? More of those out there. But checking the operation during, you know, preventive maintenance call is really good. You know, you might see a sensor that seems to be way off. You know, if the liquid line says it's 140 degrees and it's obviously not 140, maybe it's time to just go ahead and get a sensor, Um, but I do have a question for you guys on the simulating outdoor and indoor unit. Are we plugging that directly up to the board, or are we wiring L1, L2, L3 on, or 1, 2, and 3? Excuse me.
Depending on where we were at, if we were say at the outdoor unit, we disconnected number 2 that went to the indoor unit and then hooked 1, 2, and 3 of the testing tool up to the outdoor unit.
I gotcha. So you could connect to the outdoor unit via your cable.
Yes. And then
if you're not, okay, and then if you're not communicating for whatever reason, then you could take it outside and then connect directly. So eliminating, the possibility of having a problem with the cable itself.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect then.
Yep. Same thing for the indoor. We just left L1, 1 and 3, which is L1 and 2, hooked up, disconnected your communication, and hooked up 1, 2, and 3 of the testing tool, and then it was able to simulate the outdoor unit, and we had the outdoor units out of the equation at that point.
So realistically, we did that in a lab scenario. The wall mount was right above the unit, and our JD hooked it up to the outdoor unit right there, and then disconnected the 2-wire at the indoor unit, powered it back up, and hooked the tool up right at the indoor unit. And we were able to simulate the outdoor units works fine, the indoor unit works fine. But I guess you could also disconnect your 2-wire from the outdoor unit, hook that up along with 1, 2, and 3 going inside, and actually use that cable going inside to try to simulate that indoor unit. And let's say it didn't simulate it. So then you're like, okay, now I don't know if I got an indoor unit problem or a wire problem. And so then we go inside and we hook directly up to that head. And if it does simulate and work, then you know for sure the cable's the problem.
Right. You can trace that cable out and find that junction box that, somebody put in there.
That's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, well,
Yep.
It can be hard to match colors sometimes.
So James, a question came in regarding what we're talking about, so I wanted to answer that right away. What is the E6 error code? And that's a communication error code on a mini split.
Right. Well, notice that you said on a mini split. Does that mean that we might have different error codes depending on the product that we're working on?
So yeah, it's funny that because that question came in too. Is the error code question? Does GREE use the same error codes across all their products? In other words, like GMV mini split, whether it's a multi-zone mini split, single zone mini split,
FLEXX,
or GMV, whether it's our mini GMV mini or it's our commercial VRF unit. So the answer to that question is no, the error codes are not shared. And I've had multiple times where somebody has looked up an error code, like for a FLEXX, and using our error code troubleshooting tool. The error code troubleshooting tool is strictly for mini splits. Don't use the error code troubleshooting for FLEXX or for GMV products. Go to the service manual and look up the error code on FLEXX and or GMV products.
Right. All right. Well, anything else that you guys would like to add about that troubleshooting tool? Okay. Seems like we got it covered. So I think this is a good moment to take to remind you the question mark icon to the right of the screen. If you have questions or comments, click that and fire away. Do we have any questions other than what you went over?
Not at the moment. So
Not at the moment. Okay.
Yep, I just refreshed and cleared, so we're good. But yeah, I agree with James. Hey guys, I say in all the trainings we do these for you guys, so the involvement we get from you by you guys asking questions helps spin the show a little bit more, and it makes the show more fun and it makes it more interesting. You guys may grab more out of it. We just get people to ask questions, right?
Right, and if you enjoy derailing the whole thing, that sometimes that happens as well. If you guys have a really tough question, a really dense question that it really pays off though. Well, I was talking to JD earlier, and he was just really teed off. He's really heated about something. We're going to go to our next segment, stay heated and chill or chill out. So at the end of the segment, of course, you will be able to vote via the question mark icon to the right of the screen whether or not JD should stay heated or chill out simply by typing stay heated or chill out. JD, what are you heated about?
So what I'm heated about is I get this call multiple times a day as the technician calls in and say the unit, is factory charged and he added several pounds of refrigerant because he's charging by superheat or subcool. This needs to be weighed in, and I explain why. Is it's an inverter driven system. They're not at 100%, so you can't truly go by superheat or subcool. And these are critical charge systems, so we do got to weigh the charge in, measure your line set, and every unit has in the submittal or the installation instructions how much refrigerant to add per foot beyond the pre-charge length, which does change per unit. But again, I get that call multiple times a day, and sometimes they're putting pounds and pounds of refrigerant in there because they're going by that rather than just weighing in a couple ounces, or they might have even been good on charge because they're just going by that.
Well, I want to elaborate on that a little bit because JD and I spoke about this last time we were down in Atlanta for a broadcast, and I'm like, how are they using subcooling and superheat on a mini split when the lines are literally an extension to the evaporator in cooling mode and an extension to the condenser in heating mode? So in other words, your metering device is located in the outdoor unit, so you don't really have a liquid line. So how you measure subcooling? And JD said, well, no, they take the panel off and they get up inside the unit and measure the liquid line in there. And I'm like, oh, okay. But
Right.
we still can't use subcooling and superheat to charge these machines. But I found it interesting that, kudos to the guy that's going in there and realizing, he's got to go inside the machine to get an actual liquid temperature. But on the same token, we still can't utilize that to charge a mini split. So
yeah, well, many of these mini splits, you got what, a half inch of liquid line, maybe.
Yeah, you ain't got much.
Extension device, or if it's multi-zone, good luck.
Right.
Yeah. Right. So, the very nature of it being able to speed up, slow down, the variable speed, the variable fan speed, the variable blower speed, the at different temperatures, all those things are really going to throw off those readings no matter what, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. Give me a second. All right. Yeah. So you're saying that the best way to charge them, and if this is the 12th episode you've seen, you've heard us say this over and over again, but this is your first time. The best way to charge, the only way to charge is by what?
Weighing in.
Weighing in.
Weighing
Okay.
in and measuring your line set.
So
Right.
just to make sure the whole audience knows, I'm already going to tell you, my vote is to stay heated. What do you say, Jesus?
I think stay heated for sure. For sure, for sure. Well, because, we just state the obvious. If you actually do the test and sit there and try to add refrigerant and try to charge the subcool superheat, you're going to almost guaranteed to overcharge the system every single time because that compressor is going to compensate and it's going to keep on throwing your pressures down and down and down. You're like, man, well, this thing's never changing. And it's like, well, it's not that it's never changing. It's just, it's going to compensate. So eventually you're just going to have too much refrigerant and you're just going to waste a lot of time trying to charge it that way.
Right. Yeah. You'll eventually get it to change, but it's not great.
Right. By that point, you'll be way, way overcharged. Right.
How about you, Justin?
They heated 100%. Personally, I've been dealing with inverter products for over 15 years. Charging methods have not changed. It's always been weighed in. I know people are looking for a faster way. It can be very time consuming to deal with the weigh-in method, but it's the right way. And quite frankly, with inverter products, it's the only way to make sure it's right. So you just have to bite the bullet. And if it's a training issue because you're not out there studying up on the products, or your service manager's not training you, your company owner's not training you, shame on them. this business can't always be about burn and turn. We need to focus back on the basics, the fundamentals, and do things the right way. And because no matter how many times we get asked this question, either on the phone or on this show, our answer is going to be the same. Wait in.
Right.
So that's come up in many of trainings that I've done, and I've talked about it many a times that, okay, it seems like we try extensively to not have to recover the charge, and that's too time consuming and stuff like that. And I think if you really evaluate the scenarios, more times than not, it's going to be less time if you just pull the charge out, weigh it so you know exactly how much was in there. Now you know whether it was low or not. And if it was low, now you know that most likely that machine's got a leak in it. So now we need to go about figuring out where that leak's at and deal with it that way. And you're actually going to spend less time doing that than just adding charge and getting it by and coming back and coming back and coming back. We're all about saving time, but you don't really save time if you're making multiple trips back to the same job site.
Right.
Then the consumer is not going to want to pay you a trip charge every time you come back to that job. So if you can go to the job one time and fix it, it be gone, and the consumer's happy, you're actually in the long run saving your time, is what I'm trying to say. Now I know it's a feast or famine business, and it gets it. You got days where it's just excruciatingly hot. The technician may have 7 or 8 more calls on his plate. And I don't disregard that either. I will tell guys, is like, if you can confirm and know for a fact that that unit's low on charge, weigh some charge into it. If any charge you put into it, if you're not weighing the entire charge, weigh whatever charge you're putting in there. Get yourself to where your indoor unit's giving you around a 20-degree split or so. But at the same time, take a note to how much you're putting in there. Look at the data plate. And if it holds 7 pounds and you've just put in 6 and nothing's changed, you need to stop. But if you put in 5 and you get into a decent temperature differential, okay, great. It's not perfect. The Gree machines do a great job of protecting themselves. But now you say, okay, Mrs. Jones, this thing's going to work for you at least for a few days, and we're going to reschedule you to come back when we got time to actually do a leak search on this machine. And we're not telling you not to do that. What we're trying to tell the audience is the only proper way to do it is to pull it all out and weigh the charge back in and know the charge is right so that the compressor and everything can ramp at the proper rates. That's what we're trying to tell you.
Well, and all the data that's associated with that is with a properly charged system. So if you look at the temperature range, it says 0 to 115. We can get you to 0 to 115 at certain capacities if you've got it properly weighed in. If you don't have it properly weighed in, there's no guarantee of that at all. It might work today. You might have a heat wave tomorrow. It might be a cold snap tomorrow. And all of a sudden you're going back, the other direction. I mean, I can give you from my past instances where, somebody was told to weigh it in the morning. This was a commercial VRF system, but same principle applies. They told to weigh it in the morning, and they spent all day, adding, taking from, that kind of thing. And then I get a call back, I wish I'd have just weighed it in the first place. And really, when it boils down to it, how long does it take to get 3 pounds out of a mini split? But I think one of the key things that you did say there is explaining to the owner that, I can get you through, this will get you through the weekend, that kind of thing. We'll be back out on such and such day. Not, hey, yeah, it was a little bit low on refrigerant. I put refrigerant in it, have a nice day, and then get a call like 2 weeks later that they're low again or that it's not working again. Because then it's really hard to explain that, especially as educated or miseducated as consumers, as easily as they can be these days. It doesn't take a lot of Google searching to figure out that refrigerant doesn't just disappear. There is a leak somewhere, so you got to be able to do that and notify the customer. That's what you're looking at doing, is it's coming back out, finding out where the leak is, what kind of repair that they're looking at, that kind of thing. If you don't need to be told how to do your job, then, that's fine. But maybe this is helpful for some of the technicians out there, maybe some of the newer guys.
Yep.
But yeah, great feedback on that. Definitely great
Well,
feedback on that.
don't forget to vote. Make sure you vote.
Yeah. Don't forget to vote. Yes, I'm gonna say stay heated on that. I think that's everybody, right? We all said stay heated. So yeah,
Yep.
don't forget to vote on the question mark icon to the right of the screen. Stay heated or chill out. Um, we'll count those at the end. All right, so moving on to a new product update that we have from Justin. We go ahead and roll that.
All right, thanks, James. So today I'm going to go over a quick product update, some new products that are currently available, and some products that will be available pretty quick. So to start off with, I want to talk about our new FLEXX Ultra models. These are the models with the Ultra Heat compressor, and we're going to release a new 18K BTU outdoor model. And with that, we'll have a 12K indoor and an 18K indoor. If you're already familiar with the FLEXX, you know that on the outdoor models, there's a dip switch where you can flip it and change the capacity. So it'll come set to 18K. And if you need to go down to the 12K or 1-ton capacity, you just flip that dip switch and you're off to the races. As of now, that'll be available for production in November. And as soon as we have all the information, that will be posted on the website for you. The new FLEXX Eco. The Eco models are the models without the Ultra Heat compressor. Those are going to be available in the 30, 36, and 60K BTU models for the outdoor. And indoor, we'll have a 24, 30, 36, 48, and 60. What's great about these is that these will use the same air handlers as the FLEXX Ultra. So we've gone to a common air handler. I know we've talked about this in the past, but I just want to reiterate that. The only difference being is the 30K model. We don't have a 30K indoor on the Ultra models, only the 24, 36, 48, 60. So that's one difference there. And then on the outdoor models, as you can see, we have 3 outdoors versus just 2. We'll have a 30K, which you can flip that down to a 24. The 36K is a standalone. And then we'll have the 60K model, which you can also flip down to a 48K. And again, I'll just reiterate that these do not have the Ultra Heat compressor. So they are a more cost competitive model of the FLEXX if you don't need that Ultra Heat capacity. However, they do have the high SEER. We can get up to 19 SEER 2 on these models. So they're still very, very efficient. And those are actually available for production now. We don't have them in stock currently, but we will get them on order and bring them in. And if you just want to order those container direct, you're more than welcome to as well. Literature is currently available on greecomfort.com. Okay, next up we have our vertical air handlers from mini splits. These will be compatible in a 1-to-1 or on the multi-zone mini splits. Production should be ready in November, and we'll have these available in the sizes 12, 18, and 24. If you're just curious, these will be using the same cases as the FLEXX 2-ton, so it'll be a similar size as those. But again, the internals will be different, so they'll be compatible with mini splits. We know these should be popular. We've had a lot of requests for them. Once they do become available, we will order them, and this will be a stocked item. And as soon as we have all the pricing and literature ready, we'll have that available to you as soon as possible. The latest R32 Multi-zone. This is a 5-ton. We previously released the 4-ton, the 48K. Now we're going to have a 60K. Production on this one got pushed back by a couple months. It was supposed to be ready at the end of September. Now it's going to be available for production at the end of November. So be on the lookout for that. And again, what's exciting about this product is it will allow up to 6 zones versus 5 zones with the old 42 and the 48K. So now we have 6 zones, and we can allow up to 36K on one port. Before, we only allowed up to 2 tons or 24K. This one's going to give us up to a 3-ton capacity on one port. So it's going to be a pretty nice unit. And again, as soon as everything's available, we'll have that posted on the website, and your salesperson can get you pricing. New multi-eco models. This is a more of an entry tier eco multi-zone up to 17 SEER 2. We'll have those available in the 18K through 42K. What makes these an eco model? Well, they don't have the ultra heat compressor, so it's going to be a lower cost product, for the certain markets that don't need the ultra heat, say, Florida, Louisiana, or some other places like that. These should be ready for production at the end of November of this year. And again, once we have the literature available, that will be posted to the website. HVAC, on the last product update I did, we talked about this. Now everything is ready for production. We have a 2, 3, 4, and 5 ton, and literature is posted on greecomfort.com. We currently don't stock these, but if you're interested in them, your salesperson can get you pricing, and they can be ordered. So this is a special order item, but it is currently available. All right, this is the R32 UMatch product. We talked about this on our last product update, but then the production was slated to be ready at the end of November timeframe. It got pushed back a couple of months, and now we're looking at the end of January of 2026. These will be available in the 3, 4, and 5 tons, with the indoor models being slim ducts, cassettes, and floor ceilings. So very much like the old R410 UMatch product, but we're just bringing it back in the R32. And once everything's ready, we'll post all the info to the website. And just know that as of right now, we're kind of slating this to be a special order product. With the other one-to-one products and our multi-pro product, we really didn't see a lot of volume on the old UMatch. Some specific customers requested to bring it back, so we're bringing it back. If you need that, contact your salesperson and let them know. All right, so that's all I have for the product update. The last thing I'll say is we did release our latest stocking profile for R32 to all of our salespeople. So if you're just curious about everything that we're going to be stocking with current production models or the new stuff that's being produced in the next few months, just reach out to your salesperson and they'll be glad to go over that with you. And again, anything that's slated to be special order, just follow the same special order policy, submit a PO, we can get on order for you. And again, if you guys do it in enough quantities, that's something that we can start bringing in and stocking it to help support you and your sales endeavors. So just because it's special order now doesn't mean it doesn't have to be special order, in the future. So with that, I'll turn it back over to James.
All right. Well,
Caught us off guard. That's awesome.
yeah, caught us off guard a little bit there. Okay. So anybody want to table up the heated, stay heated or chill out numbers there?
Yeah, we'll get it tabled up. We'll shot
All
it
right.
out a little bit.
Okay. So we'll just go ahead and go to our YouTube comments on our YouTube videos. All right. So the first one comes from Gree responds, FLEXX installation, understanding eco mode, standard, and forced airflow. We had, this actually came from, it's an extension of the comment that we had from our last episode. It's a fairly detailed question, but it's in reference to eco mode and the ramp up and ramp down, and how it might affect fan speed. So I'm going to go ahead and take a whack at that. So there's going to be a lot of information that comes as far as a detailed ramp up and ramp down and all that curve, that kind of thing. It is absolutely entirely dependent on the ambient temperatures or the conditions that we have that system is operating in, right? And then, so, I mean, as far as the details exactly on how that works, unfortunately, that's going to be somewhat proprietary. But we can, in fact, tell you that it will, it does extend the overall, excuse me, it does extend the overall runtime. Anybody else like to add some more detail to that? The difference between setting eco mode or standard mode on the FLEXX product, or the energy saving mode.
Did we cover how we can also kind of use it as so say you have a 3-ton system, or you're replacing a 2.5-ton system, and of course they don't make half tons in these units, so you can put the 3-ton on energy savings mode, and that'll actually ramp that unit down and almost act as a 2.5 ton unit.
Right. Yeah.
That's-
I believe that video does yeah, it does. We go over
Okay.
that a little bit. Yeah, as far as using that if you had a half-ton size like that, or if you were trying to get just the maximum amount of energy efficiency out of that system as possible.
So
We did cover that.
the one thing I would say is, and I've talked about this in just even in the mini splits, right? The amount of data that outdoor board receives from indoor ambient temperature, set point, outdoor condenser coil temperature, your discharge temperature off your compressor, your outdoor condenser coil temperature, and then you go into multi-zone. Now you've got a liquid and gas sensor on each one. Along with when you get into FLEXX and stuff like that, they got pressure transducers, they have temperature sensors. What I'm telling you is the program that's in that board and the amount of data that goes into that board and the algorithms that are set up to make that machine do what it does, even when you're putting it into these other profiles by the dip switch settings. I mean, we can give you the basics of how the machine's going to work, but I have to agree with James. The actual algorithms that are built into those boards and how those boards are programmed to respond to all that, it's absolutely proprietary information. They're not going to share that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as you know, it's a very competitive space from especially on the inverter drive. It's not as like for manufacturers, it's not as simple as going and grabbing somebody else's single speed unit and seeing if they updated their capacitor or a contactor or what have you, or the same compressor that everybody might use, that kind of thing. So, providing in detail the specifics on how it ramps up, what kind of time it's looking for, what kind of temperature it's looking for, that kind of thing. Even we aren't going to get that information. But so let's move on to the next YouTube video and the comments from that YouTube video. This video is titled "Gree's Vireo versus Livo. Which one wins for energy efficiency?" The comment is, with a couple of multi R32 units outside and 3 and 5 indoor units connected to them, what would the difference be between the various indoor units? Will I get better efficiency with a Vireo, Envo, or Sapphire compared to a Livo? If they do get better efficiency, what would be the difference between Vireo, Envo, Sapphire when connected to the same multi R32 outdoor unit? And then how would I choose between them in the northeastern United States? So basically, what's the difference between on a multi-zone? What's the difference between using Vireo, Envo, Sapphire, and Livo on a multi-zone in terms of efficiency?
So in terms of efficiency, there's really no difference. And I'll say, if you look at the HRI ratings on a multi-zone, everything is rated based upon outdoor unit performance. That's where your metering device is going to be. It's where the compressor is, etc. And so when you look at those HRI ratings, you don't have them rated with individual indoor units like a Livo, Vireo, Sapphire, etc. All that rating shows is whether all the units connected to that outdoor unit are ductless, ducted, or a mix of ductless and ducted. Because reason for that is ductless, there's no duct work, better airflow, you're going to get higher efficiencies. Ducted, you're generally going to have some airflow restrictions, so you're going to get lower efficiencies. So that's how AHRI rates these systems. So again, when you're comparing indoor heads, you're mostly going to be looking at aesthetics, features, etc. All your performance on a multi-zone is going to be coming from that outdoor unit.
Right. So the only real difference that you would see is if you used a ducted unit, right? Like if you had a mix of ducted units versus non-ducted units or fully ducted units, then you're going to see some change in the efficiency.
Correct.
So really what it boils down to is like maybe an aesthetic thing, right? I mean, the Sapphire does look, quite a bit different than the Livo, right?
Exactly. Or say you want to bring in some fresh air into a room for whatever reason. You can use all the Envo heads with the fresh air kits or whatever. I mean, it all comes down to preferences or like I said, certain features that homeowner or engineer may want in an application. But again, that's all the indoor units bring to the multi-zone.
Right. Well, that actually leads right into, I'm glad you brought up Envo on that one and the fresh air capability of that. That's actually a comment from our next portion. And this is coming from the comparing GMV and FLEXX controllers, oversizing multi-zone and multi-pro unit video. Looks like we covered a lot in that video. User by the name of Jason Moriarty, 3496. Does the fresh air kit work with any other multi-head configuration models? Also, you mentioned you did other presentations on the fresh air kit. Can you please link to those? I believe we could probably provide a link, but do the fresh air kits work with any other multi-head configuration models? Do they work with anything other than the Envo indoor unit?
No, they are specifically for the Envo, and we have a manual for that fresh air kit on our website under the Envo section. And if you look in there, it gives you the compatible models. Of course, all of those are just the Envos, and that's it. That's the only unit that was designed for that fresh air kit.
Right. And I believe we have that pulled up on the screen if we want to show that. If we go to products and then Envo R32, that is our product page. And if you scroll down, as always, the documentation will be located further down. If you go a little bit further down on that, so under the single zone Envo R32 documents tab, we've got the manuals, and then under manuals, if you click manuals, so there we go. Click that. We should be able to scroll down, and we should have there it is right there, the fresh air kit for the Envo. And if you click that PDF, it opens up the PDF and the information for that fresh air kit. There we go. So all of the information on the TL, it's got quite a bit of a number after that, but all the information on that TL can be found in that manual there. So installation and other information about that. And that is compatible with the ENV 09, 12, 18, and 24, as you can see there where it says compatible with. Okay. Anything you'd like to add to that portion? No?
I'm good.
Good to go there. Okay. All
Well,
right.
I think it's a good time. I think it's a good time to announce a little contest. What do you think, James, Greg,
Oh yeah.
Justin,
I
Eddie?
like
Good idea, Jesus. Yeah, go ahead.
So we thought of a contest, for our audience that tunes in weekly or monthly, excuse me. So if you can draw a portrait, your best portrait of either one of us, whoever you want, choose anybody, and you can send it over to greecomfortac@gmail.com. We'll go ahead and give you guys a free service tool. It can be the single zone mini split service tool or the Gree GMV service tool, the one of your liking, of your choosing, and we can reach out to you via the email. Here it goes again. So you guys go ahead and write it down. greecomfortac@gmail.com.
Yeah, and so before we'll announce that in another broadcast who the winner was and so on. So you don't have to draw.
We even
all
show
of
the
us.
drawing, right?
Yeah, just show a drawing of one of us, whichever one you want to think you can draw the best. And we'll judge them and we'll pick a winner and then we'll announce it in another Talking Comfort Live, and then we'll reach out to you via email and get you set up with one of those service tools, whichever one you'd rather have.
All right.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, I think that'll be fun, interesting. I
Can't wait
volunteer
to see all
literally
these drawings
anyone
of
else.
James.
Yeah, I was about to say I volunteer anyone else but me for that. Especially if you're like a caricature artist, you like to point out the biggest flaws that we have. But hey, you got your pick here. So, all right. Let's take a look at the questions. We should have some questions that have come in at this point, right?
Yeah, so before we jump into questions, just one more note about the contest.
Okay.
So any medium is welcome. So if you want to pencil it up, if you want to do a paint picture, you want to do mixed media, collage, however you want to do it.
Yeah, I will say no AI.
Oh yeah.
Put effort into
Disclaimer.
it. Actually draw it out yourself. No AI.
That's
Right.
good. All
Yeah.
right.
Writing a
Let's go.
prompt not yet an art, right? So
Yep. So let's go ahead and jump to these questions. What do you say, James?
yep, let's do it.
All right, I'm gonna direct this one at you. This one is from Matt. Can you tell me what wired thermostat or controller is compatible with the VRF air handler four-way mini cassette, one-way cassette, high wall unit? The submittals do not contain that info.
Okay, we will double check on the submittals containing that info. The ducted units are they come standard with a wired controller, so that would be an XK46 for the horizontal ducted units. We have recently upgraded that. Some of the later model ducted units have the XE7A
Yeah.
included with them. The air handlers, the 410A air handlers were the
XE70s.
XE70 33H. And then the recent iteration of the air handler is an XE7C, either 23H or 24H. The one that I would recommend, this is optional for all of the ductless units like the wall mounts and ceiling cassettes. The one that we would recommend across the board is going to be the XE7C 23H. It's got the most features and the easiest one to use as well. Greg and I went through page after page and translated what needed to be translated and reconfigured, reoriented those options. So for the service techs out there, this gives you the most information that you could ever want out of a wired controller. It gives you far and away more than what your favorite third-party thermostat will give you. I can tell you that much.
It's easier to navigate than the other controllers as well.
Absolutely, and it's a 7-day programmable, and all that. A lot of the features and benefits that you would want out of it.
Let's not forget to mention though that they're all backwards compatible. So I can hook an XK46, I can hook it up to a wall mount. Any of the GMV wired controllers will work on any of the GMV products.
Right. So if you have an installation that's been long installed and you're wanting to maybe upgrade some of those controllers, or tenants changed and they want a 7-day programmable or something like that, that would be it's definitely a way to go. But again, that's the XE7C 23H.
All right.
Real snappy name that we came up with there.
Next question's from Gary. Are all GREE, I'm guessing units, pre-charged for 31 feet of line set? Justin, what do you think?
Oh, go ahead.
Justin, what do you think, on that?
I'll take it.
Okay.
But so no, not all units are charged for 31 feet. You want to look at the data tag. It's going to tell you there, or if you can't find it there, it will be in the submittal. So you can go to greecomfort.com under the contractor drop down and find your unit. Or no, sorry, not contractor drop down.
Product.
Yeah, product. And then find your unit, and then you find your submittal, and then it'll tell you exactly how much it's pre-charged for and what to add for anything beyond the pre-charge length.
So, JD, you're correct, but I just want to elaborate a little more. That's on the mini splits. So, FLEXX and GMV products, you got to go either to the quick start guide or to the service manual or installation manual to get that kind of information. So,
right.
Mini splits, it is on the submittals. So.
Yeah, for the FLEXX, the submittal does tell you what the pre-charge length is. However, but as Greg stated, when you're dealing with the FLEXX, we put out these really nice FLEXX quick start guides, which condense all the most relevant basic information on those units into one really quick, easy to read manual. And we kind of have tables in there that's already done the calculations for the links for you and all that. So we really want to let people know about that quick start guide because it's very easy to use compared to say the manuals that come directly from the factory. And all the relevant information is right there. So it makes your installation very quick and easy.
Yeah. So on the page that we're showing, if you go under FLEXX Ultra R32 documents, I believe you'll select the option all. At least that's what I always select. And there you go, right there. There's your quick start guide for the FXU product. And showing that it is a multiple page document, but yeah, we've done a lot of research and stuff on that to point out the differences that you may see, the most obvious, I guess, differences that you might want to look at. It goes over the product features, the dip switch settings, even the location of your, what was that?
Charge amounts,
Yeah, charge amounts, goes over everything. It's definitely a guide that you could take a look at, and it gets to the point quicker than maybe reading line by line through an installation manual. But that's good. Okay. Got some more questions there, Greg?
Yes, sir. So I don't know who wants to take this question. So, but anyway, what I can't even say that. That's pretty funny. What's the difference? How about that? We'll put it that way. I can't say the other word. Differentiates?
What differentiates?
What differentiates?
Yeah, I don't know why I can't spit that.
Yeah, I thought you were saying Diversitech.
So what makes Ultra Heat? Put it that way.
Oh, wow. Well, let's put somebody on the spot. Hey, Seuss, what makes Ultra Heat?
That's a good question. Well, it's the type of compressor that's inside the unit. And the way that the I believe it's the hot gas injection to the compressor at a certain temperature is able to be utilized at a certain temperature.
Absolutely. Yeah,
roughly.
that's exactly right. One thing I like to point to when we're talking about the Ultra Heat is that we do have a video on YouTube, amongst other places, where Greg goes through our Ultra Heat and how we give us the best heating performance in the heat pump market. Easy way to find that on YouTube is you go to our YouTube channel, Gree Comfort, and then you just sort by popular. And right after how to use the remote, we have another video for where the Vireo filter is located. And then the third video there is how Ultra Heat works. So that's the quickest way to find that. But if you search for Gree Ultra Heat, something like that, you'll see that pull up pretty quickly. Well,
James, I think this is a perfect time to point out a couple things on on submittals. If people are looking at multi-pro submittals for the GMV R32 equipment, they'll notice that maybe the number is a little bit lower than what the capacity of the unit actually is. That's exactly what I'm saying, is that, well, that certain AHRI testing that is being done is at a certain speed of that compressor, right? And so really, for them to choose the correct unit and ensure that their output at a certain temperature, they really need to go to those extended ratings and check those out and check out that capacity at whatever temperature they're expecting in the winter. That way they're able to achieve heating, obviously, during the winter in their home, building, whatever it calls for. So
right. Yeah, that's actually come up multiple times in the past week, particularly for commercial applications. But please use the extended capacity data tables. That is the way to go. That gives us the an unhindered capacity, because we've gone through and explained before, what we end up having at 47 versus 17, and then you see 5. Like I say, it's come up a couple times this week where we are looking at our 47 degrees, looking at our 17 degrees, and then 5 degrees is performing more heat, and that brings up a lot of questions. How is that even possible? That kind of thing. I guess a quick explanation again would be, the capacity that is set at 47, you're kind of locked into that speed from an AHRI testing standpoint, right? You're locked into those speeds that you are reporting, and then they lower the temperature to 17 degrees. I mean, that may be the most basic explanation. I mean, if Justin, if you'd like to give some more specifics on that, but
Yeah, so all
yeah,
AHRI is trying to do is they've created a standardized test to create a level playing field for all the different brands to be tested and show ratings, to give consumers an idea of how that unit's going to perform, how efficient it's going to be. It's trying to create an apples to apples comparison. And the way they do that with inverter product is they go in and they have to lock in the compressor at a specific hertz, and there's some other things that they do. But in doing so with that standardized test to create that those conditions, they have to put the unit into a mode in which it will not operate in the natural environment. If we have one installed inside of my house, the way it runs in summer and winter, it's going to be unlocked. It'll be allowed to ramp up and down. The compressor will be allowed to change speeds within a given runtime and all that. Unlike the AHRI test. So when we put out those extended performance ratings, those ratings are just showing, how the unit should run in the real world, what's actually going to output when the compressor is allowed to follow the natural programming, the software, the algorithm, what have you, versus the HRI ratings where it's locked in for that test. And again, it's not that the HRI test is bad. It's not. It's just creating a standardized test to show a comparison of performance and efficiencies. So that's all it is. Each has its place.
right. Absolutely. So if you are selecting something based on that, let's just say, for example, your design temperature was going to be, 17 degrees. You might say, oh, well, this unit's not going to be able to deliver the heat that I need at 17 degrees. But if you take a look at our extended capacity data, and look up 17 degrees, you're going to see a very different number. And that is just as a result in the difference of testing versus, setting a set point effectively. This is what ends up happening at the manufacturing lab. You set a set point and then you're dropping the temperature and then you're measuring heating performance. That's just not how the apples for apples comparison that's utilized by AHRI is done.
But to be fair,
yeah,
other manufacturers have the same extended ratings. So you can take the extended ratings of the Gree product and compare it to the extended ratings of the other product that you might be considering.
Right.
And then you can look at real data as to compare which one's going to give you what you're looking for.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that's another one too. The don't rely on, maybe a salesperson or, the marketing team or something like that to tell you things like, oh, it's good to go until whatever degrees, right? Use the data to determine whether or not that's the product that you want, regardless of the brand at that point. Do your due diligence. Like we said before, if it's hard to find their extended capacity ratings, there may be a reason for that. Ours are published on our website, pretty easy to find. There's even a table. I mean, it says extended capacity ratings on it, pretty easy to find. Another one about that is that somebody may say, okay, well, it's 80% capacity at a certain temperature. Well, they're often doing themselves a disservice because you're saying that, okay, it's a 4-ton unit, therefore 80% of 4 tons. Well, no, I mean, that unit may be rated at 54,000 BTUs, and it might be 80% of 54, which is, going to be a little bit different than 80% of 48. So, regardless, take a look at those charts, take a look at the data. If you want to do your own apples for apples comparison, absolutely grab 2 manufacturers' data and compare those two. So when we say that, these ultra heat units are outperforming anything that we're able to find, that's what we are doing, is using the extended capacity ratings.
Yeah, and like Jim said, we post them on our website. If for some reason you guys ever are looking for extended ratings on our product and you can't find it, please, and you're not seeing it on the website, reach out to us. We're not trying to hide it from you. For some reason, it just didn't get loaded, but we will more than happily share that information with you.
Absolutely. Well, I do have maybe more detail, which might end up getting us even more detailed questions on YouTube. But I got one for you, Justin. I hate to put you on the spot, but on that AHRI testing, is the unit able to utilize any of the Ultra Heat or Hyper Heat or Aurora or Red or any of the other brands, are they able to utilize the like a hot gas injection circuit at that point? Are they able to open up a solenoid valve or whatever, or does it simply just lock the compressor speed in and that's it?
So, the manufacturer knows that below a certain temperature, that solenoid will open.
Right.
So if you're testing 17 degrees or 5 degrees or temperature below at which that would normally open, during the HRI testing, they would make sure that the unit is allowed to open up, the valve is allowed to open up, they put out the heat capacity, right? To show,
Right.
because what they're trying to test, not necessarily maybe 17, but at 5 degrees, you now have the new cold climate test. For the north, they have Energy Star cold climate, the NEEP ratings and all that. So you want to try to get as much heat capacity out of that unit at 5 degrees as possible, because that's the benchmark. So yes, so I believe in those tests, they are going to allow that ultra heat function to operate. But what you're not going to have is the compressor ramping up and down during that run cycle.
Right. So if you're looking for if you're a manufacturer and you're looking for a certain efficiency at 47, you may not be able to get the efficiency that you would like to have at 17, simply because we're locking it in like that. So if you're giving it up at 47, you might be getting at 17 and vice versa. A common thing that we see is maybe at 17 degrees, say a 3-ton unit. Well, for the sake of ease, we'll say it's rated at 36 for a 3-ton unit. Well, at 17, you might see it rated at 30 or 28,000 BTU, something that's derated. And well, maybe that's because at 17, they're trying to hit a certain HSPF or something. They're trying to bump up, efficiency ratings to show energy savings at 17. But then when you go down to the 5 degrees, you see it has like, maybe the full capacity 36 or something like that. And you're like, well, how does it get more at 5 than 17? Well, it's because of, the testing standards, there's different numbers you're trying to hit. And so maybe at 5 degrees, you're trying to hit that sweet spot of, hey, we've got more capacity. We've got 90+% heat ratio at 5 degrees. We're hitting all the check boxes for NEEP or whatever. So, I mean, there's still games that can be played. I mean, you can still kind of gamify what's going on to hit certain levels, but that's kind of again, that's why HR tries to standardize stuff, is to help mitigate those things. But at the end of the day, manufacturers can always manipulate how the unit performs in the the speed that they're talking about locking in is manufacturer reported. So if you're looking for the highest possible efficiency, well, you pick this speed. Well, what you get in that speed and that efficiency, you're going to lose in the low ambient test. But once you're at 5, it looks to me like it kind of like it's a little bit looser. You're able to run fully open. You're able to haul rear or whatever you want to call it. You're able to run at 100% or whatever it is. You're able to utilize your hot gas injection. You're able to utilize 100%, 110, or whatever you want to call it. That's why you do end up with, like speed 5 being 110% or 120% or whatever. It's basically they picked 100%. That's the rated. And then any speed above that is more than 100%. Well, in reality, the 100% is your speed 5. That's how that works, But yeah, I mean, that's the exact scenario, Justin, that, we've been faced with this week, is explaining exactly that. How is it that you've got more at 5 than you do at 17? It doesn't make any sense. We should just have this, this precipitous chart, like our heating performance just continues to get worse. And if you take a look at extended capacities, that will give you a more realistic view as to what that's going to perform at. So if you want to compare products, take a look at the temperature, take a look at the capacity, take a look at the COP. If you're worried about it being efficient at 5 degrees, man, we've come a long way in heat pumps. But if you're looking for it to be efficient at 5 degrees, compare those units. Just do a comparison.
And it seems like every year I always get asked the same question, sometimes by the same, but for the same distributor. They always send a copy of the extended ratings and a copy of our submittal or HRI rating, and they show the capacities, at maybe 17 degrees on the extended performance and 17 on the HRI tag, and they go, well, the number's different. Which one's right? Well, technically, they're both right. It's just that it's different. AHRI is all about the AHRI standards, the AHRI test. Use that for things that depend upon efficiencies like Energy Star, rebates, tax credits, whatever. That's what AHRI is more pushed for. When it comes to system selection for your application, as like if you're doing a manual S, you do your heat load calculation, manual J, and you do your manual S to pick the equipment for the right application. That's where you use the extended ratings. Use the extended ratings for the actual heat load to try to match it up. So both right, different uses.
Kind of, it also falls in line with the, where we've always warned guys, is don't use nominal capacity for tonnage, because that's going to steer you the wrong direction.
Right.
Just because they call it a 3-ton doesn't mean it's getting 36,000 BTUs of cooling. So that's where the extended ratings will tell you the actual capacities of that unit. So
Yeah, and well, we've talked about that on the cooling side as well. I mean,
right.
Take a look at what you're talking about selling. If you're replacing a 3-ton that's 20 years old, make sure the new unit is producing the 3 tons that you're looking at producing. See it more so, I think, with 5 tons than I've seen it with anything else. But years ago, 60,000 BTUs, what is now, 55, what is now 54, that kind of thing, as far as the actual rated capacity, not the nominal capacity.
But they'll still call it 5-ton.
Well, yeah,
that's the thing. So
it's the closest one, all right?
Right. So,
yeah.
Well, the results are in.
Yeah.
We got 96% stay heated and 4% say chill out. But
right.
I did like some of the comments in here. I thought they were kind of fun. So, got one from Gary. He says, chill out, just go with the flow. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, that was good.
Another one was from Aaron. It says, chill out, it verifies your existence. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah.
I like the funny ones. But anyway, the results were in. Looks like you get to stay heated, JD.
Yeah.
And then we got another question to come in. I'm gonna throw this one at Justin. What is the low temp point for the FLEXX standard? Which I'm assuming they mean the FLEXX Eco.
So I'm trying to remember so I don't misspeak. We say FLEXX standard. That was the old 410A version. That was just the regular FLEXX. And then now with the R32 FLEXX, we've actually called it the Ultra. For the Ultra Heat, we kind of renamed it. But those models are rated down to negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit for the Ultra Heat. Now, that doesn't mean the unit's going to just shut off when it hits negative 22 outside. It'll continue to run, but it's rated down to negative 22, so we can actually give you data as far as what the heat output will be. If you go below that, we can't guarantee what the heat output will be. We just know that it will continue to run until it can't anymore.
That's the FLEXX Ultra.
That's Ultra and the standard FLEXX. Now the Eco version, the Eco models do not have the Ultra heat compressor. And in my presentation earlier, I also mentioned the multi-zone Eco that will be releasing hopefully in November. Those lack the Ultra heat compressor, and those will go down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit on rated capacity.
But again, it won't shut off. It's
correct.
Just that's what they're rated to.
It's just what they're rated to.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent answer.
What I always thought was an interesting thing on the Ultra Heat stuff was, they go with minus 22 because that is the limit of the testing lab. And often when you have a non-ultra product, they go, okay, you know what? It's non-ultra. We can see what we're producing at 5 degrees. There's really no reason for us to continue to go lower, because it's like you're looking at like a cold climate versus a warm climate, Do you need to provide, if a 3-ton unit's going to give you 12,000 BTUs, do you really need to know that? You know, like there's a certain point where you kind of go, okay, enough's enough. I think that that's a good cutoff time, you know, for that. But yeah, minus 22 right now would be the limit that the testing lab. I know that years ago, with the original FLEXX, I believe they originally tested down to minus 31.
I think honestly that was a mix-up.
You think
I
so?
think I I'm not 100%, but here's
Okay,
what I
I got it.
assume because I think it was it was a literature typo. Negative yeah, negative 31 Celsius is negative 22 Fahrenheit.
Oh, okay, I
So I
got
think
you.
that's why people thought it was originally rated to negative 31. It wasn't. It was 31 Celsius, which is 22 or negative 22 Fahrenheit.
Gotcha. Okay. Well,
So
negative
it
31
was a
Celsius.
conversion error, not not
That
a
well, that's what I meant was minus 31 Celsius. Of course, I was doing that for Canada. Um, anyway, but yeah. Anyway, minus 22 is. I mean, it's incredibly difficult to have a test lab that goes down to that low of a temperature anyway. Which you know is a feat of engineering by itself. You know, to get to that level. And you know, not only are you talking about getting down to minus 22 in a testing lab, but you're also having to you know, account for the equipment that you're testing also, you know, as far as the limitations. But speaking of which, I mean, do we have, or is there anything that we know of that manufactured by Gree that does have a lockout temperature that does just stop heating at a certain temperature? I mean, you know, it may be easier to name what doesn't have a lock. I mean, what does have a lockout if we have anything that does. Does anybody know?
no. I mean, other than if you use like a control to actually set a lockout
Right.
temperature, like you do on some heat pumps, where you just say, I don't want the heat pump to run below this temperature. I want electric heat. Other than doing that with the control, off the top of my head, I don't know of any equipment that just shuts down automatically at a given temperature.
Right. I mean, I can tell you, I've never been contacted about a unit shutting down, and every product that I've asked the factory about, they don't have, unless they have a pre-programmed lockout temperature, like a lot of manufacturers will. There's no specific temperature where they would shut down.
I've
So yeah, I
never
don't,
I've never experienced that, no, with any of Gree products either.
no. I mean, I think you can hit certain conditions in which it might shut down, you know, like an error code or something, but that's not necessarily something that can be verified. You know, if you got dirty coils or, you know, things are frozen up or you got mist blowing on the unit or something like that during a heating operation, yeah, you might end up with an error code or something like that. But um, every product I've asked about, so maybe there's a product that I haven't asked about, but I can say every product that I've asked for details on on a shutdown, we don't have a shutdown temperature for heating performance.
All right, James, we got a few more questions here we want to get
Yep.
after. First of all, you know, I always want to make sure guys know I do pay attention to all questions, you know, whether or not we answer them, we reserve the right, or whether or not they're appropriate. But sometimes I don't even got to answer them. I just change my background. So there you go, Corey. You got your beach draw from me for your picture.
Gotcha. So Corey wants a beach background for your picture.
No, he wanted the beach pics. So that's the closest beach pic as he gonna get from me.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You don't want to see the rest. So that's
No.
all good. Um, Another question from Aaron. What is the difference between using a FLEXX outdoor and a mini outdoor? I'm not sure if he's meaning like a mini VRF or if he means like a mini split.
I'm going to go with assuming that we're talking about a one-to-one application, maybe air handler outdoor unit, like just like a comparison between Flex and Multi-Pro.
That's
Mhm.
what
GD6 Mini.
that's what I would assume as well.
Right. Well, do you want to start down that comparison road?
Yeah, go ahead. You're up.
Okay. All right. There are going to be some differences in efficiency ratings. Now, in some, so on the heating performance, the Multi-Pro Ultra does have higher heating performance as a comparison between the two. But turn down ratio is a big one. So we can run some of the multi-pro products down to as low as 10%, but generally it's 15%, which is going to be a lower turn down ratio, both cooling and heating, between the FLEXX product and the multi-pro product. I'm trying to be as fair as possible here.
Well, I mean, they're two different products.
They
So-
are. They're absolutely two different products. The FLEXX, I would say, for the most part, is going to be more readily tied in with 24 volt if you want to use that, if you want to utilize that. Previously, if you want a fully communicating system, that you would have to go with multi-pro, but given the improvements for the FXU and FXE, the FLEXX Ultra and FLEXX Eco, you can now have a communicating system while also utilizing 24 volt, or you can have a strictly 24 volt system. There's a handful of different options between the two. But the main thing would be heating performance, I would say. Heating performance and turn down ratio. If you do communicating, you're getting, in effect, a lot of the same features and benefits out of the system.
Excellent answer. All right. Well, I want to move on to the next question because I think you did a good job answering that. So, this is kind of a question for both Justin and James. How far are we from multi-pro with a case coil option, and also with FLEXX units being available soon with the case coil again?
Both are currently available right now. So the only difference is on the GMV side, we currently only have the R410A version. We're working on the R32. Hope to get that released very soon. Now on the FLEXX side, we do have the R32 case coils in stock, ready to go. So if you're looking for that solution today on the FLEXX, we have it. Contact your distributor and place a PO.
Right. Or if you're a distributor, your rep, or if you're a rep, your sales rep that works here. Those are FXA models, right? The FXA 24, 36, 48, and 60.
Correct.
So those are available right now. You are correct on the multi-pro R32 A-coil option. That is being worked on right now. And not much to add there. That's being worked on. You guys will be the first to know as soon as they're available. Well, the very next episode, as soon as they're available, you all will know. Great questions. Any more, Greg?
No, that pretty much wraps up the questions, but we can still keep it open for another couple minutes. So give you guys a chance to throw in your last minute questions there. We're happy to answer them.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I'll go over the upcoming trainings.
Well, I did have a couple comments in here, and I like to read them too, or at least kind of touch on them anyway. But Jeff made the comment here, and I thought it was kind of good because I think we've all done this before. He learned on the old Terra series where you need to be a little slower about before you get your hands inside those units. Otherwise, you might learn the hard way. So he didn't give me details of what he did. Hopefully he still got all his fingers and toes and all that good stuff. So
yeah, shut the unit down and let the capacitors discharge before you put your hands in there.
Yeah, if you review some of the old videos, Sparky's not on here today, but normally Daniel's on here with us. But there's an older Tech Talk we did where Daniel got a little too close too with the sparks fly on a live video. I still like to remind him of that every chance I get.
As you should. As you should. Let us pay the price for you.
But yeah, I mean, is a being serious though.
Yeah.
Yes, give them things time to discharge. A lot of your meters nowadays have the no contact voltage testing. I highly recommend using that. I got experience myself of going to homes when I was out in the field. And you have the power off to the unit, but the home itself there's problems with the electric panel and the home's not grounded properly, and you could actually have you could have voltage applied to your refrigerant lines or the unit. You could touch that unit, be standing on a wet ground and get shocked that way. So, I just can't stress enough, guys, that you just be safe out there, and just
Yeah.
because you pulled the plug on the disconnect doesn't mean some idiot didn't bypass the disconnect, but still put the plug back in there.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I'm a big one for the bolt sticks or the no contact meters. Just kind of wave it around the unit. Make sure that thing's dead before you get your hands up in there. Whatever tool you rely on the most, but every extra precaution is going to help.
Yeah, be sure to test that your no contact on something that you know for sure is live first to make sure it's working. You didn't
Right now, that's
get to
good,
change out
man.
the watch batteries or whatever that's on them.
It only takes that one time,
Yep.
and you won't be around to tell about it no more. So
Certainly does. We also have multiple ways that you can check those capacitor discharges as well. You check across the positive and negative and all that. Generally speaking, from a safety standpoint, if it's below 50 volts DC, you're good to go. But that's also before you disconnect components and all that. So even if you're using, needle nose or, electrical pliers or something like that, you need to ensure that you're not going to damage the equipment also.
well,
Last
and
but not
also
least,
the power down effect. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the last but not least on that, if you've got the front cover off of that outdoor unit, just because you don't have a call from the inside does not mean that outdoor fan motor won't come on. It can definitely come on. So even if you're not touching something that might shock you, you come in contact with a fan blade, so.
And the other thing I was going to make mention of is if you've got like the outdoor fan motor disconnected, compressor disconnected, and stuff like that, for some reason you put power back to that unit and you power it back down, and you said, okay, well, it only took a minute or 2 minutes to dissipate voltage. Last time I'll just wait that much time. Well, remember you took the loads away, and the boards dissipate that voltage through those loads. So when you don't have loads plugged up to it, it's going to take the board longer to dissipate that voltage. So keep that in mind as well when you're getting your hands in around those inverter boards and stuff.
Right. The DC capacitors are the only kinds of capacitors I've ever been shocked by.
Don't feel good, does it?
No. Because the AC ones, you always just take your nut driver or whatever and go ahead and just, short it out or whatever. Don't do that on the inverter boards. But you do that every time just out of habit, and you never have to worry about it. But yeah, that's a good comment. Any other questions come in?
No, we're
okay. So I'll during the meantime, I'll go over the trainings that we have upcoming at 11 a.m. Central on October the 16th. We have Multi-Pro Startup, Troubleshooting, and Piping Overview. If you go to our training section on our greecomfort.com website, you can register for these upcoming trainings. So again, that's 10/16/25 at 11 a.m. Central. It's Multi-Pro Startup, Troubleshooting, and Piping Overview. On October the 29th, 2025 at 11 a.m. Central is R32 Multi-Pro Startup with Debug Walkthrough. Yeah, definitely something to check out there.
and
You can see
that's
how
going to be on
easy it
that
is.
new unit. So
Yeah, that's you can get all the information that you need and also see how easy it actually is, because it is remarkably easy. On October the 30th, 2025, 11 a.m. Central, it's R32 Multi-Pro Run Test Controller and Service Tool. All right, our next Talking Comfort Live episode. Is it? Oh, okay, so this is all Eastern time. I am sorry for those of you who live anywhere else except Central. It is 11 a.m. Eastern, so 10 Central, and you can do the math on the rest of them. So 10 a.m. for each one of the 10 a.m. Central or 11 a.m. Eastern for each one of these. On October, let's see here. The next episode of Talking Comfort Live is November the 5th, and you can see all of those for the 10:29, 10:30, and 11:05 broadcasts. You can register for each one of those and then get email reminders of those.
yeah, that next Talking Comfort Live, I'll be on a plane to Vegas, so I won't be joining.
Vacation is very important, but I think Greg pushes the limits on vacation. Look at him; he's on vacation right now at the beach. Um, but anyway, does anybody have anything else they'd like to make a comment about, or anything upcoming, or any kind
The
of
one thing I will
announcement?
say about the trainings, just just to kind of so everybody's clear, the Tech 90s are always from 11 to 12:30 Eastern. That's why we call them a Tech 90. We try to keep them around 90 minutes. And then the ones from the lab down in Atlanta, the Tech Talks, those are 11 to 1 Eastern, because we try to keep them right around 2 hours. Both of the program formats, we do live Q&A in both of them. So if you haven't joined one before, please do.
Excellent.
I will say, coming up in a couple of weeks, a couple of us will be taking a trip to the Gree factory in China. So we'll be going to China, reviewing some new products, going over a few things, speaking directly with engineers. There's supposed to be some new exciting products that they're working on for next year. So maybe when I get back from that trip, I'll have a little update that I can share.
Absolutely.
That'd be
Definitely
good.
look forward to that. Look forward to that. Okay. Well, if
Well, before we wrap up, James,
Yep.
just a reminder on that contest.
yeah,
You guys can decide to draw anybody, painting, pencil, pen, anything you decided to draw with. Then just go ahead and send it in to greecomfortac@gmail.com. And we'll reach out to you directly and let you pick, well, whoever the winner is, right? We'll reach out to them and let them pick a single zone or a mini VRF or multi-pro service tool.
Hey, Seuss,
So-
repeat that email address one time and do it a little slower, make sure everybody's got a chance to,
Okay, that's greecomfortac@gmail.com.
Awesome.
oh, it's on the screen right now. You should be able to see that along with an example of what you could draw Greg of, right? Is that what we're saying here? Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Holy moly.
there
You
you go.
can't get better
That's a
than
winner
that.
right there. So
That's the
anything
most
close to that, we'll go
realistic-
ahead and send you a service tool.
That's the most realistic one I've seen of Greg so far. So, so if you can outdo that one,
Why does everybody always pick on me? Hey, Fred,
yeah, because
I'll
everybody
pay
loves
you.
you more.
I can take it.
All right. Well, I'm going to close it out. I appreciate you guys attending as always and leaving your questions and comments. And I also appreciate your support about staying heated about whatever it is that we care about generally. All right. Look forward to seeing you next time. Remember, at Gree,
By your
By
By
side.
your side.
Please like or subscribe to our channel at Gree Comfort on YouTube and head over to greecomfort.com/training for more tips and tricks and all the information you need to help you out in the field. And that was a good show.